Hey everybody, so I'm here with Sidney Perez for our very first live client interview. So get
Hello.
psyched, this is going to be a lot of fun. Sidney, you can introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to listen to me. I am a little bit nervous because I'm not used to being publicly presented to share any experiences, but Sean told me to prepare nothing. So I'm just going to let him ask me questions about my experience. I've been working with him for, I guess, a little over a year now, and it's been a roller coaster of really happy, some sad, but then really, really happy again emotions. So I'll just let him take away because I literally have nothing prepared. I think he wanted me to act natural.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, Sydney. Is the goal here is just to be natural. We're not. This isn't designed to be a presentation. This is designed to be authentic and real.
Yeah.
That's what I try to do in all of my interactions with people who are involved with Oculus, people who are clients, everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's just be genuine. I don't like to have stuff scripted. Just it is what it is. So I'm just going to ask you some questions, and we're just going to go over it from there. So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
So yeah. So back when you were at your first, the job you were at when you first met me, before you ever
Yeah.
met me,
Yep.
right? Tell us about where you were working and what it was like and why you were dissatisfied and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So I'd rather not share, I guess, the name of the organization. I just feel weird because I don't want it to be associated with that. It was more, I was in a sales role and it just wasn't a good fit for who I am personally. Before I met Sean, I had kind of everything on the surface of my life just kind of peachy perfect. I had a really good sales role on the outside, but I felt this really big hole on the inside of just dissatisfaction with what I was doing every day. Um, in particular, I remember feeling super emotionally drained with the people I was surrounded by. And I just remember day in and day out, I didn't know why I was working there anymore. I mean, it was kind of just the right thing to do at the time. And it was familiar, but literally on a day to day basis, it just, I just didn't feel like it was me really. So I was in a pretty confused place before we met.
Okay. Okay. And so what was the moment when you made the decision that this has got to change?
Yeah. I literally remember like hitting my knees and like crying one day, and I sent a message out to, I'm Catholic, so I was in church, and I remember just crying and literally, this is weird to share this publicly. I just remember literally crying and saying like everything in my life is perfect on the outside, but I feel really empty. Can you please just like send me a sign? Like, I don't want to be living my life this way anymore. And maybe some of that comes from my parents are immigrants, so they moved here to the United States, and they worked very hard, and they had this vision for me in my future, to climb my way up a ladder, get like a safe job, and basically retire when I was 55. And my boyfriend, he's my fiance now, but my boyfriend at the time, he and I, started just questioning why is that the way things are. And I started having like this spiral of feelings and emotions where I didn't really understand why I was doing what I was doing. Like, I had made it in my parents' eyes, but I didn't feel very happy. So I was literally on my knees just crying, feeling empty inside, and like just wanted to make this massive commitment to make a change. And I didn't know how it was going to show up at my life at the time. So it was a very defining moment where I had like hit my rock bottom, I guess, and just didn't want that life anymore, but had no idea how I could escape it.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. By the way, thank you for that because that was a
Yeah,
really
that's weird to
moving
share
share.
that.
No, no, but it's very good because other people go through the same things, and it's
Yeah.
good for people to know that it's not just them, right?
Yeah.
Like this is what happens in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about how you met me and how you got involved and all that kind of stuff.
We met at a pool party.
We did meet at a pool party.
We met at a pool party actually, by coincidence, and that was interesting to me too because, well, at the time, I'm having trouble piecing the pieces together now. I had probably had that moment a few weeks to a month before I met you in person, and then I basically went on this self journey of like trying to find something that made me happy. And I ended up saying I wanted to start a business like baking dog biscuits. And one day I was like in a little common area cooking little dog biscuits, like cutting them out, drizzling dog friendly chocolate over them. And Sean popped in, and I had met him once before, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I told him, my job doesn't allow for much creativity. I'm kind of over it a little bit. I'm just doing something just to basically bring a little zest into my life. And I remember Sean like just looked at me and he's like, "I guarantee you within 1 year, you're going to quit your job. You won't be there anymore." And I just looked at him like, "You don't know me. Like, what do you mean I'm going to quit my job? Like, this is a safe job. It doesn't make sense. Like, no, I'm going to work my way up within this company and, be blah, blah, blah." And then a few weeks later, I think Sean and I had like a heart to heart, and I understood this program that he had put together. And that's when we kind of had a conversation and really realized it's true. Like, this job was not going to be for me, the one that I was in.
Yeah, no, I was actually a little bit surprised because this was very much in the early days, and I'd put together this Facebook group of people to like talk about it, all this kind of stuff. And I'd invited you just because like I kind of knew you, and I was like, "Hey, listen, maybe she'll be interested." I was inviting you really just as a friend to kind of get the conversations going. And you were really, 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 really interested. And I said, "Okay, well then, let's dive a little bit deeper."
Yeah.
And then that's when you said, "Hey, listen, Sean, you're offering discussions about this. Like, can I do one with you?" And I was like,
"Yeah, I remember."
"Sure." And then that's when we had that's the heart to heart that you were talking about.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yep. It's weird to like think back and remember about that stuff because my life feels very different now. It's like I have to really go back and remember now.
Oh yeah, well we're definitely going to go over that. So then we started working together, right?
Yes.
And then what was the first piece of advice that I gave you where you thought I was crazy, that threw you? Were like, wait a minute.
The first piece of advice you gave me.
Mm-hmm. The first thing that caused you hesitation when you're like, "Wait, you want me to do what?"
Well, it was going to be so much like, I just knew I was going to have to ask myself very hard questions. And that's what caused me the most hesitation. A specific piece of advice I don't remember. You have the rock star memory. I don't remember all the details. I remember the feeling though. I remember having a lot of hesitation because it was very scary for me to admit that I wasn't happy doing what I was doing, even though it looked okay on the outside. That was the biggest hesitation I had, was to like make a commitment. Okay, like I want to make a change.
Okay, yeah. So I think I remember specifically, right, when we were talking about the transition, right, when you were going to be moving. You had a lot of stress and a lot of fear. About Colorado, and also what you were doing with the old company to the new company, and whether you were going to stick around with the old company and try to get another job there and all this other stuff. There was a lot of stress. So let's walk everybody through like what was going on, why you were going to Colorado, and everything that was going on around that.
Yeah. Okay. So Sean and I started working together, and I started really realizing the job I was in was not the job for me. And then my fiance we got engaged after that. So my boyfriend at the time, he got a promotion to Colorado. Oh, now I know maybe what advice you're talking about. And one of my dreams was to make sure like I could end up in Colorado. And I was questioning, I was looking so hard for a job within the company that I was already working, because that was like the safest, easiest route to get to Colorado. And Sean really encouraged me to stop trying to like plan it, because something would kind of just work out the way it was supposed to. And we were working on a lot of different options, and Sean's really good at taking the time to understand. You took the time to really understand who I was and what was going to be the best fit for me to get into Colorado is like in the interim. And so I had to put a lot of faith in like tapping the brakes a little bit, because I was trying so hard to get to Colorado. I was trying so hard to get to Colorado because that's where David was going to be. And I didn't see the path. And then I don't know if you're ready to talk about the next job, but everything kind of just opened up.
Well, so yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay. So I still don't want to name like all the company names just in case. But basically, I wound up having, so this was like over a period of several months. Just like every day, I was just like, I need to get to Colorado. I need to get to Colorado. And I got to the point where I was interviewing for a competitive company. The culture seemed to kind of just match a lot better, a fit for me compared to where I was. And I was going to get offered this job. And then I was also working with my manager at the first job that I was at in Houston. And that manager was really close to offering me a job as well. And so I got faced with this really tough decision. And that was a big turning point for me, where I had been offered a job with the company that I said I was going to grow with forever. And then I got offered a job for a competitive company, and I had to make a decision. Okay, where am I now? Am I ready to totally leave behind this first option and like try something totally new? So everything just kind of like came together, and I ended up getting this massive increase in pay. I had to unfortunately say goodbye to some people that weren't serving me anymore, but my life now just looks very different, and I made it to Colorado. So
Okay. Well, just quick detail there. You said a massive increase in pay. How much did you make in 2017 about?
So my base was about 50. My base was 50, and I probably made about 65 altogether.
Okay. And then how much are you on track to make this year?
About 150 to 160,000.
Oh, wow. See, I thought you were closer to like 80 or 90. So you're really close to $100,000 raise.
With the base, yeah. But then with the bonuses that I get for the job, it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which has helped to pay for our wedding, because we got engaged in between. It's helped to pay. We bought a house. Just a lot of good stuff. We invested in some investment education, but those are all things that were like never in the plan, right? It's just, they were never in the plan. I just wanted whatever lifestyle I had, and I did, and I got so much more.
Cool. Awesome. Well, so that's the dream bridge, right? So yes. Now you're at this new company, right? And everything that you didn't like about the old company, right? The people you were with and the energy and all this kind of stuff. How was that different at the new company?
Yeah. So what Sean and I kind of determined when I was very unhappy in my first situation was so much of the energy I lost was from my coworkers. They were just very negative people. They weren't doing the job for the right reason. And I don't know if I ever shared this with you, Sean, but since I'm being all public, I literally remember in that last job, like going into the bathroom stalls and like sitting in there for 45 minutes because I literally needed to take a break from my coworkers because they were just so emotionally draining. So for me to feel like I needed to take a break from the job I was doing in order to do the job, like that was a major sign that I was not where I was supposed to be. And so Sean and I determined a big part of that was something he calls emotional contagion. I was just very sensitive to other people's emotions, and they would literally like bring me down. So a massive change about the job I'm doing now. It's still not like the perfect solution, but Sean mentioned a dream bridge.
We're going to get to the purpose.
Okay. So the job now, really like what's great about it is that I have total freedom and flexibility in my schedule. So I work on my own and I cover a state now in the job I do, but I don't have coworkers literally draining the energy out of me every single day. And then it's also a culture that functions a lot more kind of like a startup, and I need a lot of stimulation. And so that was also another factor that kind of went into the decision. It was something that, even though it wasn't the dream, pot of gold, it was something that was going to be so much healthier of a fit for me in between while I worked towards something bigger.
Yeah. And then I think most of the people watching this will have seen the webinar, but for those who haven't, the basic model is that you start off in a burnout job, and then you move to what I call a dream bridge, right? Mm-hmm. Which is this new job where you're generally making a lot more, you're a lot happier, all this kind of stuff. And then you eventually move into your purpose, right? This is the pot of gold that Sidney's talking about. Now, Sidney, you had a lot of concerns around whether that pot of gold really existed and whether your true purpose was there and whether we'd find it. So let's talk through that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess before you start on a journey like this and you start seeing things kind of unfold before you, I had a lot of doubt about what purpose meant, and is there something really in there like that I'm meant to do? How am I supposed to find that? Who's this guy to help me figure out who I am, kind of thing. So there was a lot of that uncertainty, but there was something deeper that resonated with me and told me to like give it a shot. And I think that was the answer to, what I would call like a prayer, when I was on my knees and crying and asked for something different. Like, I think that's the form the solution came in, was through your course. But there was a lot of hesitation. There's a lot of fear associated with what's purpose. But that was one of the first things I told you was most important to me, is I wanted to understand what talents I had that I was supposed to go out there and share with the world. And I had no idea whether or not they existed. I just hoped they did, basically.
Yeah, well, the reason I asked it is because that's not unusual. I get a lot of people and they're like, well, what do you mean? Like, I can wake up every day excited about what I do. Like, they don't even believe it's possible.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And then even crazier is they're like, how are you going to get me there? So even if it's possible, like, what do you mean there's a system? Like, there's no system. So people have this idea that A, that it may not be possible, and B, that getting there may not be systematic and replicatable. And so they think that, it just has to happen, and some people are just blessed or they get lucky or whatever. Right. So what would you say to people who don't believe that there's a system to get there?
I'd tell them that they need to test it for themselves. So, that's true, because like I listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff, and I always hear, well, now I'm with them, so I understand what it feels like to be filled with purpose. But before, like, I would listen to these people that had so much passion about what they were doing, and they would all say the same thing: just follow your purpose, just follow your heart, just follow your passion. And I would just say, I don't have one. Like, I just wasn't born with one. And I literally thought I was the only person who felt that way. But then once I took the jump, one of the great aspects of your program too is like the private Facebook group you have for us. And so I can see other people who are on the same journey and all making the same self-discoveries of like, all these wins that they're having and celebrations they're having, that they're getting closer and closer, following this crazy system and understanding, who they are and how they can make a profit doing what they're meant to do.
Mm-hmm. So now that you're here, right?
Yeah.
Would you say that you found that purpose that you were searching for, that you doubted for so long?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about that.
Oh.
What?
There's a big resounding yes.
Big resounding yes. Awesome. So let's talk about that. Let's share that with everybody.
Yeah. Or how I discovered it.
Oh, okay. Well, as much as you want on both, but certainly how you discovered it, share as much as you want to share, and then definitely share what it is.
Okay. So it took about a year and a half, I guess a year and a couple months, because it was like June, right? It was just a couple months ago. And
1 second, I'm going to stop you there. You were my first client. We've gotten a lot faster, by the way, since then.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I was the first client. And like I had a lot of stuff I had to work through. But it was just about a year, and I kept going back and forth. Like, I don't know, Sean, I don't know if it really exists or if it's out there or not. And you just kept telling me, like, it'll happen. It's supposed to happen. You're going through the system. Just keep doing the work. And I kept thinking, okay, whatever, I'll trust you. And so I'd keep doing the work. And I had this very defining epiphany, is what Sean had labeled it. And no doubt, like, I had an epiphany where I recognized everything in my life it was weird, because he told me like months before, you're going to look back and see all these things line up, and you're going to know exactly what it is you're supposed to do. And it was true. And I remember I was with my fiance, David, and I literally like stopped him and grabbed him on the shoulders. I was like, I had the epiphany. Like, what do you mean you had the epiphany? I was like, literally, I saw all the things line up, and it just made sense. Like, it's been with me all along. I always knew who I was. Like, I've always had these skills. I'm supposed to do X, Y, Z. And, I want to do it for this reason. And literally I wrote out in a journal 12 pages back to back of like all the things I wanted to do with it. And then we had pizza to celebrate because I was just so excited. I was like, I need to like take a break. I was really buzzing with all this energy. And so we ate pizza to celebrate. But yeah, it was just a very emotional experience for me when literally just a year before I was in a bathroom stall for 45 minutes at a time, questioning like what I was doing with my existence, to the point where I knew this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So, and now you want me to share what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we discovered, and it was really ironic, is that my purpose was to help people who are very passionate about what it is they're doing to do business and gain clients in a way that was not icky. So what was ironic about it, so basically like a sales training to help people understand their core values and be able to connect with the clients they need to make the world a better place, because we all have something in there that we want to do and we want to accomplish, and maybe we lose it along the way. But the ironic thing is that it was linked to sales, and for 5 years almost, I thought I didn't want to do sales. But the irony is that the truth was in the fact that I didn't like the way I was doing sales in those jobs, because I didn't believe in the way sales was being conducted in those companies. So it was there all along, and I just had no idea.
Yep. I want to note that it's incredibly complementary, because in many ways you're going to be helping the same kind of people that I help, which is people who want to go and live their purpose and do what, live the life that they're meant to live, and who are authentic, genuine, what one of my mentors would call warriors of light and goddesses of light. And so you're in my mind, you've become an ally in my mission, risen up to, the level that me and Mark and some of these other people are on. And so it's always very exciting for me to see somebody grow from, an employee in the rat race to somebody who's going to step out and make a difference in the world.
Yeah. And it's still scary. And like you and I still talk a lot about that, Sean. I still have things I'm working through, because there is still this sense of like disbelief, like, how am I going to be, it's just crazy. Like you said, when some people can't even believe that there's such thing as purpose. Well, now I believe there's such thing as purpose. And now I can't even believe that you can make a ton of money fulfilling that purpose kind of thing. So I'm working through that now. But I will take that complication over where I was a year ago any day. Like, it's a good problem.
Well, Sidney, if we go look back at when I've told you like what the timing of stuff is, have I ever been wrong?
No. And I roll my eyes because it's like, no. And
okay, so
like, Sean, like, I just don't know. I don't know. And you're like, well, I know, it's okay. And that's the cool thing about having a coach who's been there and done that. I mean, as a mentor, like, you see things that I don't. You see what's coming before I do. And like in the same way, like a track coach, you wouldn't want a track coach if you're running track that's never run track before. Like, Sean, you've been in a soul-sucking job before, so you could see where I was.
More than one.
Sorry if I was not allowed to share that.
No. I said more than one.
Okay.
Absolutely true. You share whatever you want, but absolutely true.
Yeah. So like, you understood like the pains I would go through and the fear I had and the doubt I had. And you would always just tell me, I need you to trust me. And then I would trust you. And then there was. There's exactly what you promised when you said it would happen.
Okay, well then trust me on this. Within 3 to 5 years, you're going to be making at least $1 million a year doing what you love.
I still can't believe it, but I believe you. So.
Okay, we'll keep it there. Okay. So let's talk about some other stuff in your life, right? So you mentioned earlier, right, just how the rest of your life has been affected by this journey. You mentioned earlier you had a boyfriend, now he's a fiance, right? So let's kind of talk about that and all the other things you told me. I remember you had a list of goals. Let's talk about like the list of goals, and let's just kind of share how this has spilled out into the rest of your life.
Yeah. I think that's the most rewarding part, is like, I have seen my life kind of blossom in so many other areas. I didn't realize how much stress was associated with the last job I was in. And now I've literally seen like just me be more of me. I'm like naturally a happy, bubbly person. And now I get to be that all the time. And I see it affecting my relationship in a positive way. Like, yes, David and I got engaged and we're getting married next month. We bought a home. We have all these dreams. Like, we have this dream of reaching $4 million, because from that, he's started looking into like investment, and it'll basically generate on its own $200,000 a year, which would give us like the certain lifestyle we want. And it's just crazy to me to even think that we're having that conversation, because a year and a half ago we were not. Like, we were just both focused on staying in our corporate jobs and working our way up the ladder. So it's affected our relationship. And then also what David believes is true as well. Like, now he talks about what he wants to do when he retires at 30, you know, like where he wants to spend his time. And we bought the home, and we're just different, like looking towards the future in a very like excited way, instead of like, well, we have to wait 20 years before we retire kind of thing. I've seen a lot of my relationships. I've cut out people that were kind of toxic, including those coworkers. I've started to make new friends that are kind of just aligned with what I want to believe and surround myself with. In terms of the goals, that was kind of interesting, Sean. Like, on our first call, when I had booked you and I wanted to work with you, one of the exercises you had me do was to say, okay, I want you to just imagine your life in like the perfect ideal scenario. And I did, and I wrote all these goals I wanted to accomplish. And it's crazy, within a year, I basically accomplished all of them. And they're goals I had seen happen, you know, when I was in my 30s or 40s, like moving to Colorado, having this like dream relationship, making X amount of money per year. I wanted to have good health. Like, I just wanted to feel confident, like I knew what I was here to do. And like all these things just literally just started to fall into place. And I'll text Sean sometimes like, guess what? Like, more good stuff is happening. Like, this just happened. This just lined up. Like, we just found out we might have an extra $20,000 for me to invest in like this new business. Like, it's just one thing after another just keeps falling into place. And I just went on a long rant. Sorry, but yeah.
No. It's great. One thing, just because you mentioned age there, you said you didn't think it was going to happen until your 30s or 40s. Just because nobody knows how old you are. How old are you? Just today now.
Oh, I'm 20. I just turned 27. This is my dog. Okay. Sorry.
That's Jax. He's great.
Yeah, that's Jax. I'm 27. Yeah.
Okay. So, so you're hitting this, 10, 20 years before you thought you would.
Yeah. Yep. It's crazy. And like when I start to share with my family, what my next goal is and what I see myself doing next, like they just look at me and they're like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, you're living the dream right now. And like, I am. I'm totally living the dream right now. And now I want to do like something more, and it's just
keep up leveling.
Right. Like, why not?
Awesome. So, okay. So a couple things here that I just want to go over, I think we've gone over your story and, you're in a really amazing place, but let's not forget, the people who are still back there. Right. And so let's kind of like talk about some of the things that I hear pretty frequently. Right. So one is people don't believe that you can have a job you enjoy and also make good money. They're like, it's one or the other. Yeah. Right. So what would you say to that?
It's bullshit. And I don't cuss. It really is. But it's like not to judge, like I was there too. And that's one of the hardest things for myself in this journey, and probably for everybody who's on it or takes it, is to be very self-forgiving that that's the way you feel right now. Because that's what my parents told me. I mean, that's what so much of society tells us, is that if you want to make good money, then you have to work hard and sacrifice your lifestyle. I mean, people talk about this work-life balance, but that's only tapping the surface. Like, there's so much the more just trying to balance it, like you can really have it all, So it's a horrible belief to have, but I had it too. And I don't have it anymore. And I'm working on just like building it up even more. I mean, there's like amazing cases all over the place too. Like once you start like opening yourself up to that idea, you see people winning everywhere, like having their dream life with their families and making a lot of money. It's just, you need an avenue of getting to that point where you can really see it. And I mean, that's what Sean does.
And that's also why, when you talk about you need examples, that's why you and I, one of the reasons we're having this interview, because Sidney, now you're joining the ranks of those examples.
Yeah.
Right. So I know you love that you get to inspire people, right? So
I do. And it's one of those things where I almost feel like in a selfish way, I feel like I'm called to do that. Like, I mean, selfish way because I enjoy it, but then also like I feel like the world needs examples of people who are living their dream lives and not having to be in a soul-sucking job until they're 55. I mean, I still think about like my mom. She's 51 and she's still like just waiting for retirement. And then, I just want her to go live her life. So she's one of the things I work for too. Like I want to make a certain amount because I want to be able to pay, so that she doesn't have to work until she's 55. So she can start living life now. Like why wait?
That's awesome. That's amazing. And so another thing is, and this is a big part of my course, that a lot of people like to focus on the external and the career and all that kind of stuff. But we go through this process of overhauling conditioning and this massive spiritual progress and this spiritual journey. And so another thing that I hear a lot is people say that it's not possible to do that kind of complete overhaul and that complete transformation in, a period of a couple months, that this is a 20-year or 40-year thing.
Yeah.
Where you have to go camp out in some ashram in India and go to the top of the Himalayas and find some monk and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So how far did you come on that internal spiritual aspect just in, the first couple months that we were working together?
Like night and day. I mean, within those first couple months, like I started seeing massive changes in my life, and they were the smallest, simple, like mental shifts that I needed to make. And like, they just started having huge impacts right away. I mean, just my physical well-being, I just started feeling more energetic and feeling more grateful and feeling more connected to something. And it didn't take long at all. And I remember thinking like it was weird. Like I had been going to church for 26 years and like I started getting closer to what I believe in, like within a few months, just through a totally different way. It was crazy. But I really do think that's part of like that answer to that prayer I had was it just came in a totally different package. Like,
awesome.
It's totally possible. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. The experiences I have now in like gratitude and like spirituality, they're like mind blowing. A lot of love and gratitude every day.
Awesome, Sidney. Awesome. This has been an absolutely amazing interview. A couple final points, right? One, right? What is your advice to everybody who is sitting there in a soul-sucking job right now, wondering if there's a better way?
Yeah.
In one sentence, or 2 sentences, or 3 sentences.
Okay. My advice is to listen to that pain because it's telling you something. If you're in a soul-sucking job and hating where you are, it's for a reason, and something's calling you to make a change, and you need to listen to it and not kick the can down the road because it's just going to get worse and worse. And you're not alone, that the road will rise to meet you as soon as you can commit to making that change that you deserve. I mean, you're really the only thing standing in your way. And there's plenty of tools out there for you.
That was beautiful. That was really beautiful. I could have said that. And so what would be your advice for the people who are just starting out on this journey? So maybe people who, for example, who have just joined, the Awaken course, people who are early on, who are still, kind of uncertain, like I have to do something, but, they're in that place where you were in, when you first started. What's your advice to them?
Don't self-judge. Biggest thing. That was every time I started holding myself back, it was because I was judging myself for feeling a certain way. Accept it. Call Sean. That's what he's there for. Even now, like sometimes I'll text him, I'm like, I've been trying to like work through this thing. And he's like, call me. And then I'll call him and like we nail it and we work it out super fast. So don't judge yourself, but don't turn away from the fear. Like go into it. And that's been my biggest one, Sean, like fear.
but you've learned to go into it, and it's done a lot for you.
It has. So. You just need to give a little bit of the resistance, and then like everything just gets easier. It's crazy. Really crazy.
Awesome. Well, Sidney, this has been an absolutely amazing interview. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm sure you're going to inspire dozens, if not hundreds, maybe thousands of people over time, because this is going to be up for people to watch. So I very, very much appreciate it.
But baby steps are good steps.
Baby steps are good steps. So thank you so much. For those of you watching, if you want to go have this kind of experience, if this is what you want to have in your life, if you want to build this, if you want to escape your burnout job, get on a dream bridge, find your purpose and start making that a reality, then go to oculusinstitute.com/scheduling. I've got the link on your screen right now. You can book a call. You can actually speak to me. Or depending on when you're watching this, potentially somebody on my team, but regardless, we'll get you sorted out. We'll get you clear on exactly what's going on, what the problems are, what the next steps are, and how you can be supported on that journey. And I very much look forward to speaking with you. I very much look forward to helping you guys. I definitely want to spread this message. I want to spread this joy. I want to bring in as many people like Sidney into this fraternity or sorority or membership of people who are out there living their lives, doing what they're truly meant to do instead of living somebody else's script, right? This is what life is about. This is why we're here, right? So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, Sidney. It has been an absolutely amazing afternoon, and I look forward to speaking to all of you soon.
Do it, guys.
Have a good one.